Or just going live from current location for a period of keep the device situated like this. Located. Alright, so again, just want to document that this is not actual. This is few volumes. This is not actually my. This is not how I appear as well. As far as like when I'm sitting here, my understanding is best to just put this on at this time. This is the most practical. All right, so some additional topics to discuss. I don't know if Tony Leonard, I don't know if there are some instances where we've learned that babies have been swapped at birth. I don't know if you're okay. I hope he's okay. He is married or divorced. His wife would have been Kate. And they should have at least 1 or 2 children together. Schwartz Drexel, that's what they mentioned. So he was out. So his dad still would have been, so his dad would have been more my dad's. Is he in this? Okay. And then Julie Leonard, who's dead. That's okay to mention. I don't know if I've ever actually met her. There's a girl here that is not my dad, none of my dad's daughters. But as far as Ed Leonard, who is hypothetically one of my dads, I suppose we're trying to rule out whether she's an illegitimate child. So I am Caroline's only daughter, and some of my dads have additional daughters with other women, but I am their only daughter through Caroline, and I am Diana's only daughter. So a few of the dads that have daughters with their life partners or ex-wives. So David, Rick, Don, Rudy, Paul. There's more than one Paul. So my husband's dad's only daughter as well. I wouldn't say they're my in-laws, but I guess technically I would say we're more than that. So they're like another set of biological parents for me. We discussed this with Scott Howard and Luis and Jim. They consider my husband my brother. There's no like half this or half that. We are family, but we're not incestuous. So how we do or we don't address that in public, we haven't decided yet. Stella, and Sam are our sisters through our dads, and they're the only 3. We don't know where Julie is. If we don't know. And then Walt is one of our dads. Correct. And might be the same situation with Ruby. But my dad, John, I am his only child. And then all of my brothers are related to dad. So we're all extremely private. And then I don't know Dad David. We don't know. We have to have very sophisticated DNA testing. And there's 3 Harolds, 2 are siblings, and 1 is a dad. For Julie, that might be tough, right? And Ronnie, I don't know, she might be an aunt. She might be one of my. She might be an aunt through one of my dads. So, and then Star, we didn't know who's that. Did she steal Frankie and Jess's identity? Okay, so that's it. So even if they're still related, very closely related, that's important. But is Dr. Cooper maybe wants testing? Important to mention. Do you want me to mention? So Jameson, Jamie Cooper, I don't know if he's a nephew. And he is Dr. Cooper's biological father. But he does go by Jamie, but he's a different. The Jamies do kind of look like and different. So that's all the information that I'm communicating at this time. We had anticipated attempting some additional phone calls at this time, though, if we're fine to go candid into creating the timeline, but we don't have service. We've not been able, we had anticipated because we were not given any other, we were concerned that this kind of situation would happen, where the individual that works at the loading dock, he's just problematic, but I don't know if he's problematic because he's incapacitated. And so there's ethical dilemmas associated with that. So even though this might be inconvenient and tough at times, I still have to expect more from myself. And we haven't lapsed on that, but we have to allow the authentic, organic, real-time scenarios evolve, and we can't really, we can't risk that process. So we don't trust people, meaning we rely on ourselves to follow through on if we want to have access to money and make sure that we're responsible to ensure that that's realistic for us. But this process and pacing ourselves in consideration of the reality of committed information and how crucial and fragile this time is right now. Just one step at a time in ways that would be realistic, but in our family, we have different standards. It doesn't mean that we don't have times of uncertainty where we test our limits, but we just don't gamble certain fundamentals. I'm in this unique situation where I don't compromise my marriage, but I have to allow for me and my husband to have as much information as possible to work towards our short-term goals. So we're not necessarily prolonging the situation at all. But Mr. Joseph, who may also go by Mr. Ed, was away on vacation in Africa, as he disclosed. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, because I've heard that whenever he says he goes on vacation, there's this guy that looks really similar to him that drives a van around with the windows down and air conditioning, and they look like twins. We don't know if it's the same person or not. But and this would be from a narrative from about 20 years ago, right? So we've had issues with the timeline. But he has disclosed he's only been here for about 4 or 5 years, allegedly, apparently, hypothetically, and he's in grad school, and that's why he's working for Allied Security. He has a contract with the university or the hospital associated with the university and other universities. So he's done this before, where he's offered to help another woman that people tried to swap me with, and we don't know which would be Jessie Lamont, which is Frankie Lamont's twin sister, who would have known Julie and Marion and the Coopers, and maybe not so closely associated with the Coopers because of age difference, but they're not being honest, and they might not be completely honest in ways that might be that shouldn't be associated with something life-threatening, but unfortunately still might be too problematic. A woman that thought and believed she was their mom. But whatever happened to her may have happened to their actual biological mom. So we need more information, but they're still kind of like at fault. So when I think of whatever the narrative that they tried, whoever the perpetrators were that tried to force me to inherit, and they would have known, Jessie Lamont would have applied for a job here and at the other cafe, and she may have quit this location, which is not the cafe at 39. It's not the same franchise. So my older brother is Howard, who we call Bruce, Reese, and we own these corporations. So Zaxby's and Starbucks, but I own one. Me and my husband, there are joint ventures with Howard and Luis Ernesto, different. So, and Scott and Luis have the same dad. And Howard, yeah, I don't know who Howard's dad is. Mr. White is one of the too. That's important to me. So Julie Busta had worked as a lifeguard with Frankie, Jesse, and Marion and Rebecca Stern years ago. But we're looking at a timeline from 4 to 5 years, and then the past less than 7 months. So within the past 4 or 5 years, Jessie Lamont may have actually interviewed at Starbucks, and then almost 20 years ago, which doesn't make sense. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, she interviewed here and at the other cafe, not Lacombe. And Ellen Ethel may be a recreational drug addict and may have had the lapse of consciousness outside of this cafe. They had an awning outside of this cafe that they had to get rid of, and they had a lock on the gate. Jim, our brother was telling us they didn't want the homeless people to congregate out on that side patio like they do over at Panera. And it was a really big problem for us. We believe that there are so many resources, there's no excuse. So when Mr. Joseph at the loading dock takes that lack of investment with me and is so disrespectful and not considerate of my time, me and my husband, right? Because I am an extension of my husband, right? Which is also what's concerning, and I would never not want to reflect professionally. So we're the same, but this is not realistic, right? So this is not compatible with life. There were some more topics that seem to, it's important to go back to a few previous topics that were just mentioned to follow up. I was mentioning the cafes was to make sure that I completed the communication and documentation. That might be all for now. I was documenting on the necessity for DNA testing and optimizing and the financial stability right now and trying to contract cash payment work. So that's the other issue. The currency here is cash. We don't call this a quid here. And as far as Wayfair oriented, these people that just won't stop stalking me. And they know that I can't see myself. So they rely on that for whatever reason. And the topic of Jessie Lamont, is she part of the reason I'm in this situation? But my understanding from whatever the narrative was that they tried to force upon me, like a script, is that she's not a drug addict. and neither is Frankie. So Frankie Lamont might drink on occasion, but her and her twin sister and her younger sister are not drug addicts. They are not even recreational. They don't use drugs. They don't even smoke marijuana. So something's not adding up. Jesse Lamont met Jason Fletcher Thompson about 12 years ago. And unfortunately, his lifestyle may have been too arduous, and there may have been some sort of conflict that, because of whatever was going on prior to that, was just optimized. She also met Julie Leonard probably about 17 years ago, right? So, but because she knew her when she met Jason Fletcher, I don't know. Jason Fletcher was a recreational drug user, so that's the issue, is that he would be like high roller lifestyle, whereas like Julie Leonard would not have been, even though they maybe would have known some socialites. My understanding is that Jessie Lamont worked as a hostess almost 10 years ago and may have seen Mr. Alon and either a bot account, like that was impersonating him, had tried to initiate contact with her on Instagram. And it was he apparently had allegedly a relationship with an older woman that had blonde hair that was causing problems. So either he was chatting with her or someone was impersonating him and chatting with her. And she went through this whole, not identity crisis, but part of an identity crisis where she knew that socioeconomically he was much, well, they're supposed to be in the same socioeconomic class. But at that time, that was not what she knew her life to be. She didn't understand why he would even contact her. So I don't know if so she's been located, correct? And biological mom has been located. Biological mom and Harold is and the physician was everybody's compromised, right? So Broad Street's not viable, but I don't know what's going on with Mr. Pierre. And University City Hospitality Coalition and Hello are not really viable. So I will follow up tomorrow. And we're going to try to make some phone calls to the corporate office for this cafe, for the cone, but we were not able to. And that's the other, we had tried to find cash work, although we can't really take on any unnecessary risk of infection. Right? And we need the people to know. That's why we were figuring out like lesser cash payment, and we were just wanting to make sure that we were as thorough and prepared as possible for these hypothetical situations with no support. And my husband is, if we're able to optimize this, so that's will let me know what's realistically possible. Where I have to be able to commute on foot, and noon to 5 is probably, or noon to 3, so part-time work, but maintaining a consistent schedule. The hours here are on the weekends not as long, so something probably Monday through Friday, Monday through Wednesday, or Tuesday through Thursday, where I'm kind of back of house, right? So that's all for now. Excuse me. Thank you. And